Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to Hello MECA. For those of you tuning in for the first time, I am your host, Dzulfadhli Lamin, and I'm one of the consultants here at MECA. With the fourth phase of MCO upon us, I hope all of our members and viewers are safe and comfortable wherever you may be. There has been a lot of questions regarding the newly announced Conditional Movement Control Order, such as, can now my employees go to work? What should my company do to start operating? What are the red flags that we need to be aware of? So we here at Hello MECA had a special segment last Saturday to discuss on pressing employment issues within the MCO. If you missed that session, you can view it on our FB page. But nonetheless, we have been getting new updates pertaining to the new order. So for our members, kindly keep a lookout for our circulars and weekly updates for more information. But the bottom line is, I would want all our viewers and members to remember that MCO is not over yet. Frontliners are still battling against this pandemic. So please do your part by keeping safe and maintaining social distancing. Now, I would like to have a special shout out to our partner, Elabram Systems, for making this session happen. They are one of the best HR solutions provider in Asia Pacific. They provide HR solutions such as executive search and staffing, workforce management systems, and telco solutions. So if your company is interested to work on these HR services, feel free to visit them at elabram.com. Let's get straight to our topic for today. We are going to discuss on how to handle hard conversations. I believe many of our viewers is wondering, why do we have a topic like this on its own? Why and when do employers face this kind of situation? Now, joining me, I will have two industrial relation lawyers to discuss about hard conversations. Firstly, I have Miss Rachel Tan from Dharmen, Sivalingam and Partners. Hello, Rachel. Are you there? Hi. Wow. Looking good, Rachel. Nice for having you.
Hello.
Hi. Joining us both is Miss Amanda Loh from Dharmen, Sivalingam and Partners.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Hi,
you.
Sue. Hi, Rachel.
Hi,
Can you hear me,
Amanda.
Zoe? Thank you.
Well, both of you are looking gorgeous. I feel insecure right now. Right. As I was telling our viewers, our topic today is about hard conversations. To kick off, can I ask Miss Rachel, what constitutes a hard conversation? Sorry, I think there's a bit of a lagging going on here. Rachel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
You were
great.
saying.
Okay, like my question to you was,
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I think there's a bit of a lagging going on here and there. I have to blame the rain because it's raining quite heavily. I'm very sorry, viewers. Bear with us. Now, Amanda, if you don't mind, can you help to answer what constitutes a hard conversation?
Okay, so nowadays with the current MCO being implemented and in view of the COVID pandemic, so many of the company are now facing difficulties. So many of the company have also undergo this cost-cutting measures. And the hard conversation will be the things like, example of hard conversations will be the things like telling your employee about salary cut or benefit reductions, or in the worst scenario would be a case of retrenchment.
I see. So to say, those are the things that employers have to announce, which may not be favorable for the employees. All right. In that sense, can I just ask you more onto the situation that we are facing right now? In our previous sessions, we discussed about cost-cutting measurements. We discussed about confinement. And in both
All right.
sessions, we highlighted the importance of communication. So does this hard conversation fall within that communication plan? Is it something to be expected in every conversation?
Okay, when you are telling your employee that their livelihood, their job are being taken away, yeah, it's some towards to the employee from that perspective. It's a some conversation that's hardly to be accepted by the employee themselves when hearing, especially when they are hearing this for the first time.
Yes, even I myself wouldn't want to know if I get my salary cut, right? So in the event the company has to go through this kind of situation, how do you want the viewers to understand ways of handling hard situations? Or if I were to rephrase, what do the employers need to do before having this kind of communication?
Okay, so once the company have decided one of the mood of the measure they wanted to take, I will summarize this into three points. So the first thing is for the company to plan for the setting. So the second thing is for it's easier for the company to make sure the entire process are transparent to the employee. And the third thing is to avoid the bad faith element in the entire process.
It's a very difficult conversation to have.
So when going back to the plan for the setting, so in planning for the setting, then the employer have to decide what are the proper tone of communication you want to use and what are the mode of communication you want to use when communicating this serious issue to your employee and who will be the messenger. So, and also as well as the employer should also ensure that sufficient notice are given to the employee so they are not taken by the surprise and in view of the company situations.
Oh, okay. I think that's a lot of information to take in. Let's just go one by one. When you mention the setting that the company have to take, do you mean whether the company is going to do a retrenchment, a salary cut? Is that the kind of settings you're mentioning?
Yes. So let me guide you by example. Let's say
Okay.
you have a company. So in your company, you have 2 manager and 10 employee. So to set the turn right means you have to ensure your messenger, who will usually be your manager, to be able to directly communicate the decision to the employee. So next for you to decide is the mode of communications. The best way is to go face to face and be direct. And then the third thing is to set the procedure to make sure that your employee, your manager, will be able to follow the set of procedure in communicating the decision to the employee.
Mm.
Mm.
So in that question, who will be the person then? Is it the manager or the CEO of the company to give that announcement?
It depends on the size of the company. So in our example earlier, you have 2 manager and 10
I can
employees.
Yes.
So in terms of work, the manager will have a closer proximity to the employee. Hence, it will be easier for the manager to communicate the decisions to the employee. So the key for this is to ensure who has the closer proximity to the employee.
I see. So in my situation, if I have a manager or supervisor on top of me, which I am more comfortable, and I have a CEO that I've never met. So you're telling me that if my company were to make a tough decision, it's best that the person closest to me, which is the manager, to relay the information to me.
Yes, this will so that this communication will be easily to be guided through.
I see. So it will be nothing strange. Okay, Miss Rachel, I think I'm getting you are more clearer now.
Yeah, can you hear me? I
Yes.
hope my line is better now.
All right. Raise your right hand. Okay, great. Okay, just to add up
Can
on
you guys
what, just to add up on what Amanda had mentioned, I posed the question of which is more better to give the communication. Let's say if my company has decided on retrenchment, should my managers tell me or should my CEO be the one telling me? Okay, Rachel. Okay, I think there's a bit of a lagging going on with Rachel. We can see you, but I don't know if she can hear us. But nonetheless,
I'm in line with Amanda in this
okay.
matter. I believe that if you are going to be announcing it, a familiar face or person that the company reveres or have high regards of should be the one doing the announcement. Subsequent, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes. Go on.
The line is really, yeah, a bit of. Is it that you? I can hear you completely fine.
Okay, I'm afraid if it's me,
So I
then
don't know why I just can't get the answer, but I can actually hear you very well.
okay.
What I'm
Can I
saying is
ask?
you should get someone who is of high regards to do the announcement for the town hall, whereas the managers and HOD should be ready for the FAQs in the event that the FAQ was not asked during the town hall. So in a company, there should be a committee or a team that is ready to answer these questions, pretty much aligned. So I'm very much in line with what Amanda just said.
So to get things straight, those people should be in line. Will normally
So
be
yeah,
the
that's all.
okay. All right. So just to touch on what Rachel said, Amanda, when she mentioned that there will be questions being asked and this line of people will be the one answering, what does she mean by that? Does she mean that there's a team of people should handle the thing, or only one or two individuals
Yes,
should
like I
handle
have
it?
mentioned earlier, so the company will need to identify who will be the messenger, who will be going to deliver the message to the employee. So in identifying them, usually in the usual case, people will get the HR manager or the HOD to inform the employee about their decisions. So in doing that, you have to ensure everyone aligned to one objective is to effectively communicate your decision to the employee and to be able to answer to the employee whatever scenario, whatever question that's passing in their head. So that's a way. That's to ensure the entire process is smooth. Then the company may consider of coming up with one protocol or procedure. What are the steps to be taken by this messenger in order to ensure the effective communications to the employee?
Sounds like you really need a plan for an effective communication. Okay, now that we get the idea, you should have a group of individuals to be in line just in case employees were to ask questions. Because I would understand if somebody were to tell my department that we are going to get our salaries to be cut, we will have multiple questions and we don't know who to ask these questions to. So now that you have mentioned there's a team and we will direct our questions to the team, communications are aligned, what should be taken note of during the communication so that we won't get our employees to go outraged or to be angry? How do we control the mood during the communication?
Okay, so during the communication, we'll again to simplify into 3 points. So when you are communicating the hard conversations to your employee, so you have to be professional and be direct. So you have to avoid small talk and be straight to the point and ensure all the necessary documents or information package are being delivered to your employee. And the second point is to don't get sidetracked. Focus on what are the points that you need to communicate to your employee. The employees sometimes may get emotional because they are losing their job. So if emotions or aggressions level are high, do not fight back, take a break, and resume only once the conditions are stable. And the third point is be compassionate. So offer some kind of support like writing a reference letter or provide a job guide assistant to show that you are a responsible employer. So I heard that some company have even gone as far as promising a rehiring in future once the company is stabilized.
Okay, I think those are three important points. Rachel, glad to have you back. Amanda and I are discussing on the tips during the communication. Hello, Rachel. Can you hear me? Very sorry, viewers. I think we have some problem with the line at Rachel's side. Nonetheless, I believe she will come back on immediately.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Great.
Zol?
Okay, Rachel.
Hi.
Amanda and I are discussing
Hang on.
about the tips during communication. Right? Okay, for the viewers out there, if you have any problem with this lagging, could you just type in the comment section so that we know that it's everyone's line instead of individual line. Yes, we appreciate your feedback. Okay, back to the topic.
Yes.
Amanda was mentioning on effective communication tips, and she mentioned some on the first point of being direct and professional.
Okay.
So if you're an employee, what seems to be professional, what seems to be formal, what seems to be informal, and how would you perceive bad announcements?
Okay. I've done a few myself, and I've seen a fair bit of good announcement and bad announcement. Good announcement is usually when MECA is involved. Okay, humble brag here, but it is. We tend to basically engage the company to have higher interaction with the employee prior to the announcement. We make sure that, as far as we're concerned, transparency must be the key to the entire communication. I mean, they're going to lose their job. No point hiding from them, right? I know there is some company who tends to do it the last minute because they think that the lesser the shock, the better, right? The shorter period of you having shock is better. Long-term anticipation might lead to different sort of mental stress. But understand this, in this kind of situation, you must always remember that they are part of your team and they have the right to know what's happening in the company. And having a good and high engagement would mean that you set the stone right with them from the start, and that they enter to the meeting or during the announcement with an open mind, or perhaps they are ready to ask more questions, right? Rather than hitting them last minute and they are too shocked to ask you any question. That would feel like they're being shortchanged. In that kind of situation, that would be perceived as bad faith.
So when you were to give announcing in the room, and we have been talking about FAQs, is it better to answer questions there and then, or should the announcer just give it time for them to digest?
I would say announce it there and then and answer there and then. You must be ready for questions. If you're going to set out to do such exercise, you must be ready for questions. And it is best to accept the question and answer it. There's nothing to hide. That is why we would encourage the employers or the company to prepare FAQs beforehand. There are standard questions that are being asked. Why me? Why now? How come you don't do this earlier? How come we are only informed today? What are the implications if we don't choose? So basic questions like that will definitely come out during the announcement. Basic question that they might want to ask. So these are the things that you can be preempting and prepare an answer beforehand.
Okay. Amanda, you mentioned something about bad faith.
Mm-hmm.
What constitute bad faith, and how do employers avoid bad faith?
Okay, so bad faith I'm talking about is an act. Is for example, avoid the act of victimizations. Example would be avoid having double standard on employee of equal status. So let's say if we have decided to go for a 20% pay cut for finance department, then all employees in the finance department should face a similar fact. And if for another scenario, retrenchment is necessary, then you have to make sure the selection process is objective according to the fair labor practice.
Okay, so in other sense, good faith here would equal to being reasonable and fair, I would say.
Yes.
Right. I'm going to pose a questions on regards to what are the types of mistakes made by employers in delivering such hard decisions? What are the common mistakes? Like Rachel, I know for a fact last year itself you've conducted a lot of consultations on retrenchment. So what can you share with us on the mistakes employer normally do?
Me, Rachel, or you want Amanda to do it?
Rachel, based on your experience last year on retrenchment exercises. Okay, I think there's a bit of a lagging again.
So you want me to? Sorry, you want me to say it? Yeah, it's a little lag. It's a thing because of the rain.
Yes. Based on your experience, Rachel, what are the common mistakes employers make during communication?
Failure to engage the employee, bad body language, bad communication drafts. I've one that the managing director, while answering the question of an employee during a closure and a retrenchment, once said, when the question was posed to him, and say, well, what are we to do now without a job? And his answer was, shall we not talk about it now? Shall we not talk about it today? You should look forward to your future. I was sitting there, I was thinking to myself, it's like, but there's no future for them. So, selection of words, people. You must be able to be empathizing in that moment of time. And when you are answering question, you have to put yourself in that person's shoes. If they're asking you something that is heartfelt, your answers, I know that he's trying to be positive, but it comes off as off-putting. It's like, you shouldn't think about it right now. You should look forward to your future. But she just lost a job. There's no future. What are we talking here right now? So, communication deck has to be thoroughly checked and see whether we have at the human side of things. The finesse of engaging an employee is to put empathy in those words that you communicate. That is important.
I see. I think also number one rule in psychology, I may add, we have to try to avoid use negative words, right? Even with a kid growing up, you should try to avoid negative words. What more giving out an announcement?
True. There
Right.
are words that you should avoid. I would say there are words that you should avoid. If it's asked, why is it me? Perhaps you should avoid using words like, yeah, because you're not doing very well in your job. So at that point of time, you might not need to talk about performance or the reasons behind the selection. You could be as objective as, look, I'm sorry that it happened to you. Don't use words like, I understand how you feel, because you do not understand how they feel. They just lost a job. You didn't lose the job. You are the one announcing the loss. So try not to use words like, I know how you feel, because obviously you don't know. And that's obvious. That's an outright lie, to be honest. So words like that should be avoided. Alternatively, you say, I know you're not feeling the best right now. And from where you're standing, I empathize where you're coming from. But the reason of the selection is purely because the company has restructured and your position has been made redundant. It's nothing personal, it's your position that was affected. Now, that's the difference with telling a person, I understand how you feel. Of course, they'll say you're a liar.
That's just a common word being used, right?
Yeah.
It's
Even
not
though it
you, it's
sounds
me.
very, yeah. It is.
Yeah, you mentioned something about good posture. How does that make sense during this communication times?
Even the earlier reference I was making, the person who was announcing, the managing director, wasn't having eye contact. When you're actually announcing some such announcement, such notice, it's best that you look into someone's eye and say it. Don't roll your eyes, look away, fold your arms, right? Just have a straight and a neutral posture when reading, and try not to avoid questions or avoid eye contact when questions are being asked. It is something you just have to deal with. You just don't look away or try to hoodwink or try to stonewall the question. If you don't have an answer right now, you can just be honest and say, you know what, That's a very good question, but unfortunately, at this current point, I don't have an answer. But let me get back to you. Right now, I really don't have an answer, which is okay. Because sometimes they ask you questions, perhaps at that point of time, you are not ready to answer or you don't have the facts to it. And it's okay to admit that you don't have it right now.
Mhm. I think that's where the FAQs you mentioning were
So, yeah.
important, right? So if you can't answer the question then at least they have something to refer to. And I think Amanda also mentioned about giving them documents prepared before the announcement. So all of this will help to maintain and manage
Yes, it
expectations.
is.
Right. So I've
True.
seen different companies last year made retrenchment exercises. Some went on to the papers because a lot of employees are not happy. They went to complain. Some company had no issue at all. They just leave the company peacefully. So what are the key components that you can share with us or with the viewers other than the three important things you mentioned earlier, which is um, which is to be transparent, be direct and professional, don't get sidetracked. What can an employers, if tomorrow they would want to make this announcement, should keep in mind?
For me to answer, right?
Yeah.
First of all, don't make an announcement tomorrow because because tomorrow is way too fast, and that's completely gone against what we've just discussed earlier. The idea is to give them ample time to process, or at least set a mode where you're going to announce it at a later time. So if you're planning it tomorrow, it's fine. But if you're going to announce it tomorrow, I'll say don't go ahead with it. Bad choice, right? Number two is the reason why some employees come forward with with making a public outcry. It's because the conduct post event has led to this. I think we know which publication you're referring to, and that happens is because the company was not able to fulfill their promises post exercise. And because of that, there was a public outcry because they did not receive the money. That would happen if you do not fulfill those conditions. Let's say you promise to pay them X amount by a certain date, and then you don't pay. Now, there's a situation that I was also encountering recently where the MSS was signed prior to the MCO, and the promise was to be made during the MCO period. But because it was during the MCO period, no one went to office, no one prepared the check. So that was a dilemma, or that's a problem because now the employee is saying that you have breached the MSS agreement. What happens then? That might lead to a different sort of legal implication. Because then the employee will say, okay, you did not pay me the consideration that you promised me. So this agreement will be null and void.
So
I will
don't
consider
make promise
myself to
don't make
correct.
promises you
So
can't keep.
it's true, but there are situations like this because during the MCO there was minimum movement and there are issues where employers are unable to prepare checks for the employees and what's not. So what happens to an agreement like an MSS or VSS during this point of time? It may translate to a breach of contract. Or otherwise, you should at least inform them that, look, there will be a delay in payment because of the MCO. We will endeavor to pay you after the MCO is lifted or after the lockdown has been lifted. So things like this have to be announced or informed in advance.
Mm, okay. So just to make it clear, if let's say my company is going through a cost cutting reduction and because of the MCO, my employees aren't able to see me face to face, they do it via Zoom. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously via Zoom, your questions are limited. You can't ask a lot of questions and you can't straight away get answers. So in that period of time,
All right.
in that period of time, what should the employers do post the communication? Should there be a follow-up? Should there be another call? Should there be a letter sent out? how do the employers maintain the expectation of these employees being further away?
I would say that to check the temperature of the employees, you should always send out a post Zoom call or internet meeting email to keep the conversation in line. Perhaps what you hear and what you read is different, right?
Yeah.
So there should be a follow up in terms of email to all the employee following the conference call over the internet. That should be the right way. And then, if there are any questions they need or to address, they can address to a specific email where somebody is there to reply promptly as and when the email comes in or the questionnaire comes in.
I see. So there must be a pre, a during, and a post communication plan. It's not easy to let them go, right? Okay, Amanda, if I may ask.
Can you hear me, Zul?
Yes, we can. Okay, Amanda, if I may ask, since we've spoken about what are the good tips for employers to do, now let's discuss on what are the risks that employers may face if communications turns out bad.
Okay, so if employee they feel they are being victimized by the decision of company, there are few options. There are few outcome the employer might face. First, the employee may tender his resignations and then claim constructive dismissal against the employer. So another thing is for scenario 2 will be the employee may file a civil claims against the employer for example, if there's a unilateral pay cut. So the employee may file a civil claim against the employee may file a civil claim against employee for the balance of the salary. And another scenario that could also be when employee may file a complaint to the labor department.
Oh, okay. I'll complain to labor department. I don't think any employee would want to face that. All right. So knowing the risk and having a communication plan up front will avoid those risks. I'm still trying to understand the practicality of it, like because there are a lot of methods and there are a lot of theories. But practically, how do we do this? Can you help to clarify the viewers and myself about this? Okay. Rachel, can I check if you're there? Rachel? Okay. I think, Amanda, we can just proceed with both of us first. Yeah. So can you help to clarify on the practicality of this communication step?
Yes.
No?
Yes, I
Rachel?
am. I think I'll just do without the video because the lag is really bad.
Terkejut. Okay. Yeah, we can
Can
hear
you hear
you
me,
fine.
Zul?
Clearly. Okay. I think there was a bit of lagging with Amanda as well. Hello?
The practicality
Okay.
of the communication.
Yes.
You can hear me clearly, right?
Yep.
So I think it's doing best without the video, because
All right.
otherwise my audio is it much better without the video?
Yes, much better.
Okay.
So
then.
viewers,
So,
I'm sorry.
the
You've seen Rachel's face.
Okay.
You can hear her now.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now,
So do you say something?
Oh,
No.
now she's lagging.
Okay, let's sync. Okay, Rachel, start with the practicality.
Practicality of the conversation, is it?
Yeah.
So, I would start, ladies and gentlemen. Believe that you have received my notice today, and here we are, post-COVID, back in office. But unfortunately, we have a very bad news to inform you, because as current standing, we are at 30% low, and from our reserve, we are unable to continue paying you more than 3 months. Now, we have come up with a solution, and the right way, and I think the best way we can do this in order for us to sustain till end of the year, is with a pay cut. I know it's a very difficult decision for all of you to make, but from our calculation with a pay cut where the management will take 30, mid-management 20, and the rest of you 10%, we may be able to sustain this business till the end of the year. Fragile, we do not expect it to recover overnight. However, with this exercise, we will be able to sustain further. Now, the idea is to be transparent in numbers. I'm just giving you an idea of how numbers. You do not have to lie to them if you don't have reserve. I have a client who told me they left 10,000 ringgit in their account. I was like, huh? Okay, I'm not here to judge, but that's all they have and that's all they can have. And it's okay. Just be honest to them and say, this is all I could afford this month and this is as far as we go. But in order for us to sustain further, we must be able to do different things. Now, I urge all of you to understand, to stand by me in this decision. And by doing so, we may be able to turn this ship around. Words like this are more encouraging. And the platform that you're taking is not you and I, but we as a company. Yes. And together we are in this. So these are the things that I would always encourage, words that are more encouraging in order for you to get this message across. And you always end with, if you have any difficult conundrum regarding this matter, please feel free to address it with me. I will be able, as much as I can, to answer your question. And for those who need to discuss about their percentile, feel free to come to me as well. Something like that along those lines. And of course, you can end up by saying that I'm going to pass around the acknowledgement letter. If you have no objection, kindly fill it up and return it to so-and-so by end of the day. That's how you should do it. I mean, that's what I would think.
I'm amazed, Rachel. I mean, for a second there, I thought I myself was the employee.
Would you agree to a pay cut?
If you were to tell me in that way, I might. Right. So I think the key important thing that I can take from what you've spoken to us is to use soft language to come very transparent and direct. I think although that's very little, but it does play a big thing, a huge thing. Right, Amanda?
Yes.
So, can I ask Amanda this? Rachel played the good boss. How would a bad boss be, or how would a bad boss react, give this kind of communication? What to avoid?
Okay, a bad boss will be doing something which is very opposite of what Rachel has done earlier. So a very common mistake that I've actually seen in many of the cases is first starting off the conversation with a small talk. And then while in between of the conversation, the employee or the manager may fight against the aggressiveness or even provoke the situation with unnecessary words. And sometimes it then will make the employee feel bad, especially when the communications is done with a bad posture. Or perhaps do you want me to demonstrate that to you?
Yeah, can you show us what does bad posture mean?
Okay, but you please don't hate me after that. Okay, bad posture usually like a genuine conversation will require regular eye contact. So a bad posture will be something like where there's no eye contact, and then the body may facing away from the employee, and or it could be with the arm crossed.
I see. So if don't send off bad signals with your posture. Okay, I got you. So it's like having a relationship with your lover. If you want to communicate well, be honest, be forward, be direct. At the same time, if you want to cut the relationship, do it well as well. Do it with good posture, good content, and in good faith, if it's any case in good faith. So, Rachel, are you still here with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I think have shown a very good example of how to communicate well. Amanda had shown a very good example of bad communicator. Let me just go on to the next one. How would you guys react if I, as an employee receiving the news, starts crying, or I start throwing a tantrum, like throwing a chair or getting up and shouting aggressively, what should employers do? What would you guys do? Okay, can start with Amanda. What would you do if I
Okay.
start all that?
So first, we have to understand their emotions because they are being terminated, and if they are being terminated and they're afraid that the tension that may have faced, for example, maybe they are losing their job and they are the sole breadwinner in the house. So stop. Do not fight back or if they are aggressive. So you just pause the conversations for a while. Or if she cries, then you can volunteer to give her a tissue and just pause the conversations and let everything calm down, then resume back the conversations.
So like you give them 10 minutes, 15 minutes break, and then you continue again.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Got you. Okay, what if I don't agree to the decision, and at
Okay.
that point you would want a consent? So you asked me to take a break, but I left. I just simply chow. How would you then come back to me as your employee with the decision?
Okay, perhaps you can try to communicate with the employee about how other employees stand, and perhaps the employee they don't understand what is the big picture, what the setting for this measure being taken place by the company. Tell them what are the difficulty faced by the company, and then tell them how are they going to be affected. And for long run, perhaps this is good for the employee because it secure their employment with the company.
Hmm. So you have to re-counter them with the decisions, uh, the reasons behind the decisions. Okay, so
Yeah, and I
mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I believe that with the recent news being is widely reported around, I believe these are the things that all the employee will actually have the preparedness. Sometimes they may be afraid, or they wouldn't. Maybe they will know what actually happening, or they will have issues with their employment. So these are the doubt that sometimes they will need the assurance from the company.
True, I agree. And I think I would like to also highlight what Rachel mentioned earlier, which is about being prepared. If the company has made up the decision, stick with the decision, be confident with the decision, and be ready to answer questions. I think that's another practical part that I want our viewers to take note from this. Right. There I see there's a lot of questions coming on FB. But before I move on to the questions, I would like to make a little special shout out again for our Elabram partner. They will be giving out freebies as we always do in every session. Elabram will be giving out a free trial until the 31st May for their WMS systems. Now, for those of you hearing WMS first time, it's an innovative solution system that will help you to take working clock in times of your employees anywhere and anytime. So in this MCO period, if your company has not resumed working, this is a great app for you to try and venture. You can try them at elabram.com, or you can email them through their website portal. Now also, MECA has a special 14 days trial. I've mentioned earlier in my session that our members, you guys should be expecting our circulars and weekly updates regarding the MCO updates by the minister. For those of you not a member yet, you can join us for free, a 14 days trial. You can just drop an email at admin@meca.com.my. And other than just circulars, you can also enjoy the benefits such as contacting us consultants personally to ask about your HR related issues. Right. Let's go on to our FAQs. Can I check, Rachel?
Yes.
Right. All right. Great.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I think kesian lah viewers can't
Can
see
you
your
hear
pretty
me?
face. Yes, yes.
It's okay. I'd rather keep the audio clear than my face. I mean, I have a pretty face, but it's okay. You
Okay.
know my name.
All right. Hold on.
Yes.
Let me just navigate the questions. All right. Question number 1 from Kim Lai Ishtan. I think I pronounced it right. For company that doing pay cut, legally employer need to communicate to the staff on the pay cut period and duration.
Yes, you should and you ought to, because there is a by the time you receive a consent or ask for consent, you must also inform the labor department via a PK form. And I think the requirement for you to inform the labor department is 1 month before. So you are to inform the employee and also the labor department a month before the start of the pay cut. And whether the duration of pay cut is really depending. I have clients who have taken stand where the pay cut is permanent. Like, we're going to stay at this until we get better, but better might not happen at all, right? So there have been pay cuts that does not have an end date. And it really depends on the company themselves, whether they're able to sustain or whether they are daring enough to say, we're going to try this for 6 months. All right. After 6 months, we will return you back the money or the arrears in a form of a bonus or a following year or during the next year's increment. Such conversation has happened. It does not dictate, but it is not dictated by law, I would say.
Okay. So to be reasonable and fair, do tell your employees how long they will have their salary to be cut. Right?
Yes.
But however, on the question of legally, are they obliged to tell a duration?
Well, if you want to get consent, you better be able to give them an answer where and when, because these are the questions that definitely will come up. If you're not willing to tell them like how long the pay cut is going to be, they might be less likely or more resistant towards accepting the pay cut. So you must have a solution. You see, pay cut is not a long-term solution, ladies and gentlemen. It is a temporary measure for you to tide yourself through. If it is a temporary measure, then do as what temporary must. There should be a timeline.
All right, bite the bullet then. Great answer. Let's move on to the next question. This is from Chris Kaibas. Has MECA done any tough things with their own employees yet, please? Oh, can I answer this, girls?
Zul, you have to answer. Yes. Go ahead.
I'll be
Zul.
honest with the viewers and members. Yes, we have. We have also been deeply affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And I have to give praise to my bosses. We had to make some alternative arrangements to cut costs. So our very own bosses had to tell the consultant. So imagine in our MECA room or MECA virtual office, the bosses having to tell the consultants about bad decisions that they have, not bad, tough decisions that they have to make to survive this pandemic. Now we learn ourselves a thing or two, and I must say the things that Amanda and Rachel shared really puts up to it. I think you have to be transparent. You have to be direct. Don't go all around beat the bush. You have to really tell why the reason you're doing this. So we as consultants, we know the law, we know what we have seen throughout the years, but having to hear it for ourselves, we also have to adapt to whatever is going on. And I have to praise my bosses that they did it well. I think if it were to happen in any other company, there might be some setbacks. But luckily, I would say, Alhamdulillah, there's no issue within our company. Right. I hope that answers your question, Chris. I speak also for all the employers out there. Be strong, be tough, and be confident with the decisions you make. Okay, let's move on to the next question. This is from Jessie Lai. Must salary cut be followed by reducing working day, or just salary cut but remain working day? This is kind of off the topic, but why not? Let's try it on this question. Rachel, are you here with us?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. Rachel and Amanda,
Can you hear me?
can you hear me? Amanda, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. For salary cut, must we reduce the working day or can we remain the working day?
Okay, this will depend on what would be the arrangement between the employer and employee. If the employer suggested for the employer, maybe in this pandemic we have to go for a pay cut. So if the employer agree to that, that would be the arrangement. But if the arrangement is the scenario where, okay, the employer agree for a pay cut, but then there must be a reduction of work by 50% in proportionate to the pay cut being made, then that would be the scenario where the employee, that would be another scenario between the employer and employee. So it depends on what would be the arrangement between the company and the employee.
I see. So both make sense here. What about legally, Rachel? Can both be legally done?
There can. You can reduce working day without a pay cut. You can do a pay cut without reducing working day. There is the requirement under the Labour Department only said that you need to inform when there is a reduced pay. Reduced working hours was not stated to be exact. But it is a fair practice or a fair labour practice. If you are reducing pay, you may just want to reduce the working time. If there isn't that much to be done. In a scenario where you have to take a pay cut to maintain reserve, but work still goes on as normal, it can happen as well. And it has happened. So it really depending, like what Amanda says, depending on how the negotiation has taken place. You may have reduced pay with reduced working hours. You may have reduced pay with same working hours. You may have reduced working day without pay cut. And that is the best scenario, but never happened so far.
Okay. I wish that would happen to us. Right. I hope that answers your question, Jessie Lai. I'll bring up another question. This is from Susie Q. Lee. What if an employee did not sign the voluntary leave form? Can the company assume that they agreed with the unpaid leave decision by the company? So I'm assuming there's a voluntary leave form, and after the company making its decision, some of them did not submit the form. So what's the position on this?
Who wants to answer? Amanda, you want to answer or you want me to answer?
Okay.
Amanda, yeah.
Okay, from legal perspective, the court are saying that the consent has to be voluntarily. If there's a genuine consent, then the action has to be positive. So there can't be a case where there's a silent amount to acceptance. So that in this case, if the employee did not sign the voluntary leave form, then if the matter is later raised out to the court, then it will be a difficult case for the employee to prove otherwise.
I see. Rachel, you were saying something, Rachel?
Oh, I was just agreeing with Amanda.
Okay.
Just to add on to it, there is I wouldn't say a back door. Now these days, that's a very famous word. Let's not use the word back door. There is a separate approach. I would say you may try. You may send out a memo saying that, we are now giving out the voluntary leave form, right? As you are aware, the announcement has made at this date. We will look forward to receiving your answer or your form. But for those who did not submit, right, based on the number, if it exceeds 80%, we will go with the majority. So it kind of forces people to want to put in. And if they refuse to put in, you must say that if those who do not wish to put in, please kindly inform HR. That shows that you give them no choice but to come forward and not leave you hanging, right? Always find a way to close the gap. don't leave your notice hanging in such a way. We wait for your voluntary leave form. Yeah, you wait till next year Christmas also you won't get. Okay, so the most important part is make sure you have a cover line to ensure that look, we're going to go with the majority. If you're not responding to a different date, we'll assume you accept this. So they have gone out, and if they don't reply, then we'll go with the majority first. But then, of course, you'll be argued. But then you had a memo to say that, look, we were waiting for your answer. And we said that if you do not reply, we assume you accept.
Okay, that's a great answer. If I may chime in my first session of Hello MECA, I've interviewed Mr. Dharmen, the managing partner of Dharmen Sivalingam Partners, and Miss Lina, one of DSP colleagues. We have discussed on the topic of consent very deeply. So I've seen a lot of our viewers asking matters on consent. You can view our session. I believe that our panelists and our speakers have explained, like what Rachel had mentioned, the back door, or so to say, the implied consent, how to win the hearts of the employees, and how to do away with getting consent in difficult times. So tune into our first session if you want to learn more. Right. Can I ask Rachel?
Yes.
Okay, let's say if a communication is done for this purpose, on the question that Susie Q has asked, right?
Yep.
How would you recommend Susie to deal with post issues such as not getting or not receiving the voluntary leave form as supposed?
I would say you have to go down to the ground and get it from them one by one. You must have that face-to-face, heart-to-heart. No point sitting in your ivory tower and expect things to be done. This has to be done, and everybody has to go down to the ground and get it done.
I see.
So you have no choice but to approach respective employees and ask them, why have we not received your voluntary leave form? Is there a concern? Would you like to raise your concern with me? That's you being proactive.
Okay.
So that is what I would do.
All right. To all our viewers out there, if you have more questions, kindly post it in our comment section. I think we still have time to take one or two questions. Right. Let me post one up right now. Okay, this is from Michelle Yeo. We need 1 month to notify JTK. Do we need to get a written consent from the employee, or a memo of notification will do? Okay, I think Rachel has answered this most of the part in the previous questions. Would you want to add more to what you've mentioned before this, Rachel? Or
None, actually. I think I've been very clear about the consent part. You need written consent to back your, to support your form to JTK.
All right, great. We have one more question. This is from Pauline O. If 10% sign back don't give consent, but majority agree and sign, can we still implement cut on those not consent? Okay, Pauline. We have actually discussed this very thoroughly. That the implementation on decisions by majority can be worked through. However, there are risks that you will need to anticipate. Again, I would invite you, Pauline, to watch our first session where Mr. Dharmen and Miss Lina has explained on the weight of majority consent. Right. So, because I wouldn't want to deviate us from this topic today, I would suggest you to watch to our first session. Right. Next, this is from Nur Ashikin Abdul Aziz. If after many communications and discussions, the employee refused to consent to a, for example, pay cut, what can an employer do in this situation?
Can I answer that, Joel, just to wrap it up? also. Well, you have to call the cavalry then. Your next step in every exercise that you do, especially pay cut or unpaid leave, is because it's financial related. Your worst case scenario is to take the high road and go for retrenchment or closure of business. Worst case scenario, because you must have a contingency plan. And if the employee is unable to appreciate that the pay cut is to save them from losing a job, then you have no choice but to execute plan B.
Yes, that's a very good answer actually. In any of the decisions you want to make, I personally would advise you to have multiple options for them, and one of the options being a contingency plan. So what if all of it fails? What the company has to do? Like for instance, if you have to go down the route of retrenchment, you don't need consent from the employees. However, you need to live up to the reasons why retrenchment is there in the first place. So all of this has been discussed and will be discussed further in Hello Mecha sessions. All right, I think that's all the time we have for our viewers' questions. Just to sum up of what we have discussed today, I think our speakers today, Amanda and Rachel, despite the connection issues, has brilliantly explained to us what situations constitute as hard conversations and how do we handle hard conversations, the things we do before communicating, during communication, and post communication. I think these are very important points because this is not written in legal books. It's not written by the courts. This is based on experience and consultancies at best. So Amanda and Rachel themselves has been very experienced in handling employers when it comes to decision making. So I believe personally, whatever they've shared today is based on what they have faced and seen with employers, right? Just to inform the viewers and members, we will have another session this coming Thursday where we will discuss about non-compliance with collective agreement. So here is very interesting because with the with the ongoing pandemic, we have seen companies discussing on special circumstances. And can special circumstances deviate from collective agreement clauses? So stay tuned for our next session next Thursday. I would like to give a very big thank you to Miss Amanda and Miss Rachel for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you
you for
very
having
much.
us too.
Okay, and to
Sorry
our
about the
viewers,
line.
if you are members, expect announcements, circulars, and memos from us in your emails. To non-members, you can apply for our 14 days trial. And until the next session, thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.